Well, hello there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Amber Dawn, and this channel is Amber Dawn Rising. And today we're going to focus on ghost stories. And my personal ghost stories. So none of you have heard this before. Well, some of you may have heard some of them. But I wrote down a list, and we're going to go through them right now. So when I was younger, I was probably about 4 or 5, and me and my mom lived in this apartment complex, and we managed it. My mom managed it. And back in the 80s, this was probably like 85 or 86, we were allowed to play outside late at night. We were allowed to just do our own thing. Even though there was a lot of crazy people out there still. There's always been crazy people, right? But back in the 80s, it was, for any of you who were alive back then, you know, we were more free. We were allowed to do what we wanted to do. So that being said, one night in the apartment, I was sleeping. Well, I wasn't sleeping, I was in bed. And my mom was sleeping. And I always had like a really weird feeling in this apartment, and this specific night I heard in my bedroom, it was almost like it was coming from the hallway, but a witch's laugh, and it sounded like this. And that scared the hell out of me, and I screamed out my mom's name. Mom? 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 Nothing. So I pulled the covers over my head and fell asleep, basically. It took a while, but I fell asleep. And then I don't know what happened first, or I don't know if that specific story happened before or after this next story, but it was in the same apartment complex, and I was with my friend, and it was getting late and dark, and so we were going home. We were walking home, and we look over and we see a shadow person, a shadow man, and he was standing there. He had the infamous hat, like the shadow man with the hat. He had the infamous hat on, and all we could see was the dark shadow of it, but it was standing there as if it was a full-formed person, but we couldn't see a face or anything. It was just a shadow. And its arms, it was almost like either it was holding someone in front of him, and the person's arms were flailing out to the side, almost as if hanging on a cross. That kind of like arm movement. Or it could have been the shadow man's arms, and it had its arms out like that. Regardless, it scared the crap out of both of us, and we scream at the top of our lungs, and we started running home. I don't remember much about what happened, except I remember sitting in my apartment, and the door was open, and all these cops were like walking past my apartment. So I don't know if my friend had, because my mom doesn't remember this. She doesn't remember a lot from back then. But back then she was a partier, and so she didn't remember a whole lot of things that have happened. So I don't know who called the cops. I assume it wasn't her if she doesn't remember it. But all I remember was sitting on a chair, a reclining chair next to the door while the door was open, and I kept seeing cops walking back and forth. So it could have been the girl, my friend who I was with, told her parents, and maybe they had called the cops. I don't know. That's all I remember from that evening, but I'll never forget it. That definitely left a mark in my soul, because it's like, what was that man? What was that shadow person? So I really wish I did still know that person, that girl, or I remember her name, because I'm curious if she remembers that. Because I specifically remember being outside with another person. We both scream at the top of our lungs. Okay, so the next story is, I lived in these duplexes out in the valleys. And these duplexes were old military homes. And they were known to be haunted. There was rumors that they were haunted. So I'm not sure why. Maybe some of these soldiers had died and they just went back to these places that they lived with their families. Who knows why this place was haunted? But it's probably like a 6-block radius of duplexes, old military duplexes. And I babysat my brother a lot when I was younger, when my mom would go to work, a single parent mom. So I was the one responsible to take care of my brother. And one night, I was walking to the living room, and I don't know where my brother was, somewhere in the place. And all of a sudden, you know those lights that dim? So you turn the little switch, and the light dims up brighter and then down dimmer. And so the light was going up and down, dimming up and down, up and down, up and down. And it freaked me out, and I yelled, "Stop it, stop it, stop it." And it stopped. And I always had like strange feelings in that place, but it was never like bad, you know. The first story, yeah, I felt some really weird, strange energy in that apartment, but this duplex didn't have bad energy. I think there was just some kind of paranormal activity going on in there, but it never gave me a horrible feeling, but it did make me uneasy, obviously, because I knew something was there, but I didn't know who or what. But nothing ever happened bad there. So the next story is at a different house. And this is all in the same city, just different parts of the city. So this house was... This house is... The reason why I'm pausing is because this house has a very strange connection with me. I still dream about this house to this day a lot. And it's really, I feel like there's some kind of messages that are trying to be told to me through these dreams. And I just don't know exactly what they're trying to tell me, what my subconscious is trying to tell me. I cannot decode this. But I never really, I did feel that it was haunted when I was there, but I didn't have very many experiences though. It was kind of more after I moved out of the house. So I had a dream about how I was in the bathroom and I was going to take a shower. And I believe I was in the shower, if I remember correctly. and a man, a ghost, he was a ghost, was talking to me. And I was like, you've been here. You need to go to God. You need to go to the light. Why don't stay here anymore? I'm not even living here anymore. And this was all in my dream. And we hugged each other. We embraced each other. And it was very sweet and sad. And it was like a goodbye. And this man really cared for me a lot. It wasn't anything malice. It wasn't anything nasty. It was just a pure, kind of like I was helping this person be grounded, the spirit be grounded. I don't know exactly what, because we didn't talk about it. It was just a feeling. But that embrace was the final goodbye. And I haven't seen him since. So I think he was able to get out of there. But the thing is I keep having dreams about that house. So I don't know if there's a portal there or what the deal is with that house. I was around, I'd say 14 years old to 18 years old is when I lived there. And it was just, it was kind of sad, to say goodbye. But I was like, you have to go. So years later, I'm driving with my brother. And him and I are 11 years apart. So I was always the caretaker of my brother while my mom was working. And he ended up moving into my old bedroom after I moved out of the house when I turned 18. And so just a couple years ago, so that many years have passed that he told me this story, because I tell him about, my dreams that I keep having about this house. I told him about the ghost and everything. And he said that when he was staying in my old bedroom, that there was a 2 or 3 foot little devil, and it looked like the devil. It was really scary looking. It wasn't cute. It was really scary looking. And he was awake, and it chased him out of the room. Well, he ran out of the room. I don't know if it chased him, but it appeared, and my brother ran out of the room screaming. And ever since that day, he slept in his old bedroom again, because that freaked him out, understandably. And so I had never seen anything like that, but I'm curious. It's very curious, right? So I'm not the only one that had a strange experience in that house, and I do continue to have dreams about that house on a regular basis. All right. So here's another story. I had a roommate, and my roommate had a boyfriend, and we used to always hear feet walking upstairs, and there would be nobody up there, and it would always be in my bedroom because it was right above the living room. So when we were sitting in the living room, we would hear footsteps up there, and that always freaked us out. Many times when I'd be laying in bed, I would have my roommates, who has since passed. She passed away in May, I believe, unfortunately. And anyways, that doesn't have anything to do with this story, but she'll come up again later on. So, because we had a lot of paranormal experiences together. So she had a little toy poodle, and her name was Taylor, and she would come in my bedroom and sleep with me sometimes. And we were laying in bed, and Taylor starts barking at So say she's looking over at the right-hand side of the room. She's barking. And she's basically watching, and her head and her body is moving as she's barking at something that she's seeing. And whatever she saw was moving from the right side of the room to the left side of the room. And she was barking frantically at whatever it was up there. So there was definitely something in my room. So that's another story. All right, so when her and I decided to move out of that apartment, well, she moved first, I moved after, but we ended up getting back together and moving into a different apartment with her boyfriend. And I remember her boyfriend went to bed, and her and I stayed out on the couch just hanging out, watching TV, and there was a noise that was right next to my bedroom. And it's really difficult to explain. If I find a sound clip, I'll put it in right now. But it was like almost not electronic, but it was almost like an alien type. Kind of like that, but a little bit more higher pitched. That was freaky. Another story is I had gotten gifted tarot cards, and I've told this story on other channels before, but just in case you haven't heard it, I'll just go ahead and say it. I had gotten gifted some tarot cards from my aunt, and me and that aunt really don't like each other. We never have. But she gifted me tarot cards, and I was like, okay. She also gifted me a voodoo doll, which I ended up getting rid of because I had no use for that. But so I started learning the tarot cards, and I used to sleep with them under my bed or under my pillow, like many of us do. And so I got up one night to go to the bathroom, and when I came back, the tarot cards were spread face down all over my bed, except for one card. And that one card said death. And I knew immediately that card was going to be for her, because her and her boyfriend were starting to have a lot of arguments, and there was going to be a breakup. Little did I know, all of us would be breaking up. Just what I mean by that is just we all went our separate ways. And so that kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I wasn't like really into spirituality back then yet. And so I left the tarot cards back. I can't remember if I intentionally left them back or if I just accidentally left them back, but I'm pretty sure they were on the ground when I moved out. So the next apartment I moved into this next apartment by myself, no roommates. And I used to always have, I would always feel a presence there. And it got to the point where I would be laying in bed and I would hear laughing. This is specific to one night too. I was hearing laughing, and it sounded like children. So I was hearing all of this laughing, and it wasn't soothing. It didn't feel good to hear all of this. It was freaky. It was trying to scare me is what I feel like, or trying to get my attention. And so that had passed, let's just say throughout my life. I don't do it anymore, but throughout my life, I have had to sleep with the covers over my head because things like this have happened throughout my life. It's nothing new, right? And so in the same apartment one night, I was in bed and I was feeling stuff. I was feeling a presence. I was feeling like I was being watched very closely. And in this apartment, I was really starting to find my spirituality, not super heavy, but I was starting to be I still have a couple books that I had actually picked up back then and read them, and I was starting to learn how to meditate and all of that. But I wasn't like in it yet fully. So I think I was just starting to open up. Even though I've always been aware of the other side, I've always been connected, I think in this apartment I was starting to consciously be connected, if that makes sense. And so one night I was laying in bed and I was feeling a presence. And so I got freaked out and I pulled the covers over my head. I was probably like 22 at the time. And when I pulled the covers over my head, I felt a presence of, it felt like somebody was floating over me vertically, horizontally, sorry. And they were hovering over my body, and their face, it felt as if their face and their body had pierced through the sheets and the blankets, and they were just like half an inch away from my face, just staring at me. And at that point, I had had enough. I was sick of them trying to scare me and intruding in my space. And so I got up and I turned the lights on and I screamed to them, "You need to leave now. You're not welcome here. I'm sick of you harassing me. Get away from me. You're not allowed here." And I said that probably 3 times. And it stopped. So just remember, when you're having issues like that, you have to forcefully and wholeheartedly tell them that they're not welcome and you've had enough. At least it worked for me. So this was a different apartment. And I lived here by myself as well. And this could have very well have been an animal that came into the apartment, but I lived on a 2-story. I lived on the second story. But I had a doggy door, just so that the animals could go out on the balcony and get some fresh air sometimes. And we were sleeping. And I hear my cat. She starts going like crazy, right? And then my dog runs out and starts barking. And so they're tripping on something. And so that could have very well been an animal. Maybe a cat climbed a tree and got onto my balcony and went into the doggy door. Or it could have been something supernatural. Because in that same apartment, one of my best friends and I were hanging out, drinking, just chilling. And my this specific best friend has abilities as well. And he very spiritual, very in tune, sees things on the other side, gets messages, all of that. So very gifted. And we were sitting on the couch and I looked at him and I go, "Do you feel that?" This is a different night, by the way. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm actually looking at 2 legs right now. I can feel it and I can see it." And I go, "What do you mean?" He's like, in front of my TV, he saw 2 legs, like shadow legs, but there was no torso. And so it was almost like something was kind of seeping in, or we were starting to seep into their dimension. Who knows which way it was going. But yeah, so that happened there. I always had this apartment wasn't the best vibe. Like some of the other places, I guess it's always kind of eerie in every place, especially when you feel a presence and stuff and you know something's there that you can't see. So I guess you'll always feel a little uncomfortable, but this one was a little bit more dark, kind of like the first story I told when I was a little kid, 5 or 6 years old, in that apartment. I heard the witches laugh. So it's kind of the same type of feeling there. Not super positive, but not horribly dark either. Just creepy. So, after I moved out of that apartment, I did move in with my best friend, one of my best friends, and his mom. And they have a lot of stories at that house too. But so I moved into my friend's house with his mom. And there's always spirits in that house. I've seen so much in that house, and so have they. And, I would see people walking in the side of my eye and everything. I think that they do live in an area where it is possible that it's a native, it's a native ground. Whether it be on a burial ground, I don't know, but there's been a lot of activity there throughout history, I'm assuming, because they have so much activity there. And so there, when I stayed there, he was kind enough to let me stay in his room, and he stayed in the spare room. And this happened a few times where I would be laying in bed, and he has his meditation chair there. It's a little recliner, an old school recliner. And I'd be laying in bed, and I'd be looking over at the recliner, and there'd be a red light. Usually I see purple lights and white lights, but very rarely, if ever, do I see red. And it was so interesting because it almost looked like a sparkler. You know, those little fireworks that you light up when you're a kid, and they're sparklers and they're pretty. It looked like that, but super small, really tiny, almost the size of maybe an eraser, if eraser on a pencil, if not smaller. But it was just hovering over the chair, and it was going up and down and side to side, and it was so calming and welcoming. And I would close my eyes and open them again just to make sure it wasn't me, and it was there. It was still there, and it did that a few times, and it was very calming. Though there was nothing bad about that presence, but it was beautiful. It was like I was getting a little light show, and it was wonderful. I really liked that experience. So just recently, there's been a bunch of stories in that house, but I'll just keep it short with this until I get their permission to speak about other stuff. So probably a month or two ago, I was over there hanging out, and because I don't live there anymore, but of course we're still friends. And I went to the bathroom, and there was a shadow person in there, and it scared me. I was like, oh gosh. And but I just said hi, hi, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom, because I didn't feel anything bad off of it. There's nothing bad in that house. It's just active, that's all. And so I went out and I told them, and they both looked at each other, and I go, what? And they were like, well, my mom's been seeing a lot of stuff here. Somebody tucked her in bed the other night, and they were telling me this, and they were like, I think it's my mom. My friend's mom thought it was her mom. He thought it was the grandma. And so we pulled out the pendulum, and we asked who it was, and it spelled her mom's name. So yes, it was her mom. And they've had a lot of different cool things happen there too, and I can't wait to tell you about them. Now we're in a new home, and that's the current house that I live in now. And there's so many other stories that I could tell you, but these are the ones that I can remember mostly. If I start remembering other things, I'll definitely tell you, but there's more. But anyway, so the new house that I'm living in now, my dog had passed away probably 5 days before we moved into this new place. And so I set up his little shrine. That's the word, shrine. So I set up his shrine, and then I have a dream catcher on there, and I put a bunch of crystals next to his urn and everything. And shrine had flew across the room. And not across the room, I'd say probably 3 feet off of the shrine. And it scared me at first, but then I realized it was him. And so I calmed down. And then maybe a week later, there is a dream catcher on there, and that also flew off too. And so he's definitely, because I was heartbroken for a long time, so he was definitely trying to show me that he was not gone. His physical body was gone, but he's still here, which was beautiful. And so in the same house, probably maybe a month later, 2 months later, who knows, it could have been 6 months later, but it was when I was still grieving. And so I was sitting out on the balcony, and I was crying, and I was talking to my dog, and I was looking up in the sky, and I was like, that'd be cool if some falling stars happened, but then I just kind of let it go. And then the next thing I know, 5 falling stars within the next 8 minutes, I'd say, happened. And that was just heartwarming. And how much power it would take, how much strength it would take for somebody who had passed to do that in the physical is so impressive. And it just was heartwarming. It's just so heartwarming when they come to us and let us know that they're still around, and they can hear us and see us, and that stuff usually, like for me, that happens usually, in the grieving process, and then they kind of go and do their own thing once they're, once we're able to move on. But very beautiful. And then, so my friend that I told you, this is going to be the last one that I have written down here. Thank you for joining me, by the way. So my friend had passed away in May, and I had a hard time with that. Again, childhood best friend, tragically murdered, very, very sad. And one night I was sleeping, and I have a little tin box full of nail polish and files and things for my nails, and I've had it there for over a year. And then one night I was sleeping, and it just decided to jump out and off onto the floor. And it was one of those heavy nights where I was crying and having a hard time with the loss of my friend, and she decided to come and push the nail polish tin onto my floor and let me know that she's still around. And lately I've been having a lot of dreams about her as well, so she's definitely trying to come through. But I just wanted to share those few stories with you and see if anybody relates. Have you had any similar experiences? I'd love to hear your stories. You can make a video and tag me in it. I'd love to watch it. You can comment in the comment section. I'll approve it. But I do filter out my comments. But if I approve it, then it'll be on there. But I'd love to hear your experiences and what you think maybe my experiences were all about, and just some cool stories that we can all relate on, and kind of pass some memories along about our loved ones that have passed, and our ideas of what all of this means, and all of that. So I hope you enjoyed these stories. If you want to hear any more, go ahead and let me know. I'll make more. Please like this video and subscribe. That would help me out a lot. I really want to get my channel to grow, and the only way it can grow is if I get consistent subscribers and likes and comments, and that would be beautiful. And Let's share some energy with each other. And if you have anything else that you would like me to speak about, I will be glad to speak about other topics. So just let me know. I hope you guys are having a great day, afternoon, or evening. Much love to you. Much love to all the spirits that are around us. Be safe and good luck. Bye-bye.